Hey guys, I think Elden Ring just saved the game industry. Let's talk about how. Are you at a place in your life where that sounds like a startup commercial? Are you at a place in your life where AAA games they don't have this luster that they used to have? Now we know when a AAA game comes out, it usually means it's broken. There's a lot of issues with the gameplay. It's not innovative. It's usually you pay the $60 or $70 up front, but then there's also a lot of monetization within the gameplay. And you can also, the worst part, you can tell that the game was developed with gameplay monetization in mind. So some things are altered, engineered a different way in game than it could have been, and it makes the overall experience dreadful. And it sucks. And it's like, it feels like every AAA game is coming out with issues. Why are mainline Battlefield games releasing in the quality they are? What happened with Battlefield 2042 is an absolute disgrace to that community, and it's like they just spat in the face of fans. If you're a Battlefield fan, which I am typically not, I like Call of Duty gameplay a little bit more, but the Battlefield gameplay is fine. I wouldn't call myself a big Battlefield fan. I cannot believe what they have done to that community repeatedly, and what they did with 2042 is an absolute shame. So if you're watching this and you're a Battlefield fan, I'm really sorry, because that is not okay that you had to pay that price tag for that experience. EA, I hope you watch this. Please stop doing that to players and your consumers. They didn't even release with the scoreboard. Elden Ring, it's a AAA game that came out shattering all expectations. If you were into Dark Souls, some of you guys have probably played those. Not for everyone. I personally like them. I've beaten all of them now. If you're into Dark Souls, you knew that Elden Ring was on the horizon, announced a couple years ago. You knew that this game was probably going to be good. From Software has had a great track record with their games. They made Bloodborne as well. But we didn't know it was going to be this good. That also tells about From Software's the marketing, the way they look at their games, the way that they treat consumers with their games. Why are we not bombarded with ads for this trip? Elden Ring is a AAA game. We are not bombarded with consistent marketing and ad pushes. We barely saw anything for the game. We're getting teased little bits of gameplay at the end of like their trailers. It'll start with that like cinematic of the guy with the hair or whatever. And then you see little cuts of gameplay, some of the cool enemies like mid animation swinging at you while you're like riding your horse by or something. That's like what the ads were. This is not sitting down with the developers talking about how it's the best game that's ever been made. There was not an overhype in the commercials and the marketing. They undersold the game. And this is where we can cut to an article where they said this would take 30 hours to complete the game. They said it was going to take 30 hours to beat Elden Ring. I am on my first playthrough still, 55 hours in. I have not beaten the game yet, and I'm not going slowly checking every little corner. No, I'm semi getting the express experience, playing with one of my friends who's like 20, 30 hours ahead of me, and he's kind of taking me through some areas a little bit faster. When I summon him into my game, he's like, oh yeah, we're going to go here. I should maybe be at 67. I should maybe be at 70 hours right now to get where I'm currently at. What I'm saying here is this game is not 30 hours long unless you're speedrunning it. I did see the news. They got it in 50 minutes already on a speed run. It's funny. But your average player is going to take a lot of time to beat this. And I, as an average player here, taking me a lot of time to beat this. You have Dying Light 2 saying it's going to take 500 hours to see every part of the game. That came with a little bit of blowback as well. People saying, I do not want to sit down and use 500 hours of my life playing this. I want to enjoy the game, but not 500 hours worth. And that's where you get AAA developers are boasting about the amount of time you can spend in their game. When I have beaten Dying Light 2, it was okay. I love Dying Light 1. That was a fun game. It has its issues, but it was fun. Dying Light 2 was okay. Guys, it is rinse, wash, and repeat. The different sections of the map, the different little exploration things you can do where you go into the, I forget what they're called, like the dungeons, and you always got the little upgrade thing. It's the same thing. Ubisoft games, rinse, wash, repeat, almost like to the T every single game that's released afterwards. And it's a real shame. It shouldn't be like this. But these games are way overhyped for what they deliver on. They deliver the worst way we can equate this is almost to how the sports games have gone with, like, especially the NFL. I mean, NFL, FIFA, everything. they're pretty rinse, wash, repeat. Madden has not changed in decades. I mean, we're looking at 20 years of nothing has really changed. That is what they're doing with the Battlefield games. That is what they're doing with fill in the blank XYZ AAA game. Why did Elden Ring not do that? Why are people on Twitter talking about how this game has like revitalized gaming for them? Why are people talking about the new bar has been set for open world games? I mean, Elden Ring is topping, it depends on who you ask, but I'd say a lot of people is topping Breath of the Wild. I played Breath of the Wild. I thought that was great. Don't love the weapons breaking, in my opinion, but a great game. Elden Ring is far and above more enjoyable to me as a player. And this is a very rare thing for us to see, that Elden Ring is a game that you pay for one time and you get an entire gameplay experience that you can tell the content within was not manufactured to be sold through a store later on. It was not manufactured for you to get the stone word key thing. If you played Elden Ring, you know what I'm talking about. It's like a key that unlocks certain areas of the game. You don't have to pay for that key with real money. You go and find it by exploring the world. You find it organically. And that's why some of you guys know where I'm going with this. You saw on Reddit, the Elden Ring subreddit, people were joking that those stone keys would have been sold if this was made by Ubisoft, sold with real money. Oh, you want to save time? Well, guys, you can pay, $6.99, and here's the key to go open this little loot area that will have a chest or something with a cool spell. No, that didn't happen. Elden Ring was made for players that were going to have access to the entire game with no gameplay monetization in mind. That is what's saving the game. You almost want to think of it as the bare minimum. I love it when people say that. The bare minimum is what's saving the gaming industry. It's very nice. I'll say it for myself, a little bit biased in the sense of some of my love for Elden Ring. It's apparent because I've always been a fan of the Dark Souls game. I'm not the best Dark Souls player. I usually play more co-op with friends, so I'm not out here soloing every boss from every game. I've beaten every game and Bloodborne. I've beaten all of them except Sekiro and Demon Souls. I never played Demon Souls, or never played Sekiro as well. I played all the Souls games and Bloodborne. I'm usually summoning friends. I don't really play the game solo, but I love them so much. I love the exploration. I love the finding the cool weapon or the armor that looks sweet, or min-maxing the stats, going for the build that's strength, or a quality strength build, or like cool summons. Like this game, you can like summon a mimic and stuff, and it's like so broken in Elden Ring. There's like so many ways to tune your character's playstyle, which is awesome. The same reason why I love Overwatch so much. If you guys know, I have another channel called Nateson. It talks about Overwatch, and that is like my favorite game of all time. Somehow, I know in public opinion, the game is faltered, but I can't seem to be torn away from it. It's so nice to be hyped up for a AAA game, and it delivers, because that's not something we're used to. And that's honestly what we're seeing kind of in the media as well. Twitter sentiment, Instagram comments, if you don't really use Instagram, mostly Twitter and Reddit. Reddit's probably the big one for most people. People are not growing up in a generation like a lot of us did. If you're in your 20s, we grew up in a generation where AAA games usually delivered. In the 2010s, 2014, 2000X date, AAA games were done. Back on the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, Xbox original, a game shipped meant it was done. You're playing a game on your Nintendo DS, the game was done when it was released. But kids these days, so think about people younger than us, think about people who are now 17, people who are now 16, 15, 14, and they're playing when Fortnite is the biggest game. They're playing when Apex Legends is the biggest game. They're playing when these AAA games, like the 15th Assassin's Creed has come out, fill in the blank with XYZ Ubisoft game. These are not finished games. Fortnite was fine. That's not part of this conversation. I'm talking about the games that you're paying $60 for, the Cyberpunk 2077s, the Battlefield 2042s. You and I, if you're the target demographic of this channel, which is kind of gamers, but the average demographic is like 20s to 30. You and I grew up with Battlefield Bad Company and Battlefield 3. Meanwhile, the people that were our age, but now are our age from when we were back then, you know what I'm saying? They're growing up with Battlefield 2042. They're getting shafted as a consumer. They don't know to have the expectation up here for AAA games. Only me and you did. And we don't even have that anymore because we've seen what has happened to the gaming industry. But the kids that are now growing up now, and they're in their later teens, they're starting to see a lot of the game industry now because they've played a lot. They now get a taste at what a true AAA game stands for. What it looks like when love and care is put into a game, and the choices that were made for each single area were deliberate. They were not driven for monetization, and it was purely fun gameplay in mind. And I believe Elden Ring set out what it was meant to accomplish, and I think it is a beautiful thing that people that were now our age, when we were kids, you know what I'm trying to say, you know, back when we were like 17, 16, the kids that are now 17, 16, they're getting their first taste at a game that is done on release. It sucks, the optimization stuff. I'm not going to pretend there were no issues. The optimization was unacceptable for the day one patch. Apparently that's what happened. Game journalists and reviewers, websites, they got an early copy of the game, obviously, to play for their review when the embargo dropped. Apparently that game ran fine. But day one patch kind of broke the game. So a lot of us kind of had sucky PC experience. That's fine. I'm never going to be okay with that. Please fix it. But I ended up having a pretty good playthrough. I've had like 4 crashes in total in 55 hours, which you don't want to see, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I know it will probably be fixed. Besides that little wrinkle, I mean, you can tell the game is done, and I am so pumped about that. And I think you can see the reflection and the sentiment. I keep using that word sentiment because I'm kind of getting a feel for like how the masses look at the game. It is wonderful to see positive sentiment around a AAA game for once. Finally, I pay $60 for a game, and I'm like, you know what? I think every cent of that dollar was spent well, because I have not spent $60 and thought, wow, that was a great game in a long time. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be posting again to my main account names soon, so consider this a little inside spoiler. Hope you like the new camera. Got a new mic, pedal board for the guitar. There's some new stuff. Anyways, have a good rest of the night, guys. See ya. Thank you for watching.